what you guys are trying to say is we need to reevaluate how we measure this idea of effectiveness, because what we've been doing has been wrong. Am I wrong in that?
You're totally on it. So
yeah, you're spot on.
That's how it works on this show, fellas. That's how we do it.
People,
yeah, man.
Travis, to churches are always going to have those metrics, it seems like, because judicatories like those, and et cetera. But what we're saying is add into those numbers qualitative measures, such as if you're going to talk about how much, how many, how often that you're going to write to your district superintendent. Also provide qualitative measures of things like this. Share stories of lives that are being transformed by the church. That's a qualitative thing. Or something like this: signs of the kingdom of God that are popping up around the community of the church due to this church's presence. Put those into that report. So while you have the quantitative measures, I'm not saying get rid of those totally, because that just seems almost, I don't know, it's not going to go down very well, right?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, we do have a book called Numbers. I mean,
right.
We have Acts, 3,000 were added. So we're not kicking it to the curb, okay? We're just putting it back in its place.
So we're saying, add in these qualitative measures. What evidence do we have that God is having conversations with people? And see, here's the thing, Travis, as you put those qualitative measures in, that requires that you invest your time differently, right? If you're going to look for signs of the kingdom in the neighborhood, guess what you're going to do? You're going to be out in the community. Mm-hmm. If you're going to share stories of lives being transformed, guess what's happening? You're going to be engaged in people's lives. If you're going to share things about evidence of God's conversation with people, that means you're going to be conversing and listening to hear these evidence of God at work. So we're just saying those metrics need to be added onto so that we can encapsulate what we're talking about.
We try to call those, we called them like the two wings of an airplane, that kind of whole ideal illustration, but we called them hard facts and heart checks. Hard facts you could measure, heart checks, holiness, surrender, and things like that. You had to have the other wing. Those just don't fill the stat sheet per se. But you taking that into consideration, and you mentioned this in the book that I thought was very interesting, and I can't remember, forgive me, I can't remember who or which one of you it came from, but there's a story about building a roof, and one of the guys was engaging in conversation rather than helping on the roof. Who was that? And then the other guys got frustrated, or was that just an example you guys came up with?
Yeah, so that was a short-term mission trip in a Native American reservation.
That's right, South Dakota.
In South Dakota, yeah, the road, Lakota Sioux, Sikanju.
Yeah.
So
I read the book.
Yeah, awesome.
Just so you know, I read the book. I really read the book.
Yeah, I read it too. So all the genius stuff is from Bud. Let's just put that out there.
That's how it was. You said, you want this PhD? I need you to do me a favor.
Right.
I need you to do me a solid.
So here's the deal, right? If the metric of success for that short-term trip is how many roofs are done, how many buildings are painted, how many screen doors are fixed, etc., then what people are doing is they're spending their time working really hard, but neglecting people that are nearby them. But suppose you change the metrics. What if the metric of success of that short-term trip is something like this? How many people want to follow you on Facebook? How many people want to have follow-up email conversation? How many people will call you friend by the end? Well, if that's the metric of success, then instead of spending all your time on top of a roof, you're going to spend time talking to people, listening to people, engage them, visit their homes, talk to their families, etc. You're more likely to engage in evangelism and pre-evangelism through that listening conversation. But it starts off with resetting the metric. Because with the previous metric, if success is based on how many roofs are done, if there's somebody down there talking to local people, the guys on the roof are going to call him lazy. They're going to call him like a slackard, right? Mm-hmm. But in reality, he's probably engaged more in ministry, So we're trying to combine both of these, this holistic approach where you minister through word and deed. And what we're saying with typical short-term trips, it skews more towards the deed and neglects the word. And we're not saying you should do away with the deed. It's just that it should also be some ministry through the word that's commensurate with the deed, and pull those two together.